see this is the exit point here at the bottom. Right underneath here is where the air blows down. We got all this ash in here. Work a little bit of that down through the hole. This tool comes with it. That ash all falls down here. All right, so we've got the Classic Edge 760. This is the first time I've cleaned it out in a couple weeks. The inside here, so you can see the air feed tubes along the side. That's where the air is blown into the burn chamber, and then it actually blows right through the coal bed down through those slots on each side, and it burns down into the chamber, the reaction chamber down here below. Apologize, the annoying beeping sound is just letting me know that I have the bypass open. So that's actually what they call the reaction chamber. So there'll be a cyclone of fire in there. It's actually coming down through the bottom, and it burns in here. It's like a cyclone, and then it comes around the edges, and it goes out the back sides on each side here. So all that hot gas and fire is blowing right past this towards the back. That's underneath here, and it comes back to this back area, and then it blows up through the heat exchanger. So that's those tubes, those fins that are in there. Those thin metal fins were just baffles. That just kind of slows the hot gases down so that you can get as much heat transfer as possible. So I'm starting to be a believer in this. So once I close this, the fan will come back on. So I have the bypass open right now, so it's actually, the smoke can come and go right out the back. This is supposed to be help you load it without smoke coming out the door. As you can see, it doesn't really work. So that closes that little flap. So you just have to make sure that the ash doesn't pile up over these the tubes here where the air comes in. And so every week or week and a half, maybe 2 weeks at the most, I'll come in here and let this thing burn all the way down like I did today, and then I'll kind of scrape a lot of that ash out. If I do come out here during the week and it's low enough where I can get this bar in here, it's got a little angled piece of metal at the bottom, and I'll run this along that edge down there and just make sure that no big piece of charcoal like this is stuck in there blocking the air or something like that. You can get charcoal in there, and if the air can't flow through, it'll stop it up and it won't burn. You can also get creosote and other minerals and other things like that kind of stuck down there. So you just want to make sure that's clean. and make sure that your ash isn't piled up past the air tubes. But it's pretty minimal maintenance on a regular basis, on a daily basis. I mean, I won't do this every day. I'll do this every few days. And then usually every week or two, I'll do a full clean out like I did on the back there. So you can see all the creosote that builds up on the inside and on the walls. And that's because most of the burning isn't really happening up here. There's just kind of smoke rolling in here. It's drying out the upper levels of wood. So you can put some fairly green wood. If you keep it loaded more often, you can keep your green wood right at the top, and it'll actually dry that wood out with the coals and the smoke and just the heat of the box, and it'll burn your seasoned wood at the bottom. So it just kind of just keeps eating it away and falling down to the bottom. And then by the time that green wood gets to the bottom where it's actually burning, it's just super dried out. It's even almost charcoal. Now, you don't want to load this whole thing with green wood every day, so if I let it burn down all the way here and I throw green wood in there, it's not going to really burn very efficiently, and we don't want that. So I generally try to put more seasoned wood in there on an empty burn like this, and then if I've got green wood, I'll throw it in there and keep it burning at the top throughout the day, or as long as I keep it full. So I've been using the little perch that I built here to add wood. So this, I use the forks in this bin. I take it down the hill and I'll get a load. I have found that if I fill this thing all the way up, it's a little bit much for that tractor and those forks on the end of that bucket. So I like to fill it about this far, or maybe a little bit further than this. And this gives me about a day to 2 days worth of burn time when it's this cold out, when it's in the teens at night. But I also have some wood stacked over here, and this is what we're going to be getting today. This is half seasoned, half not. We'll be putting a couple of wheelbarrow loads, so I keep a wheelbarrow out here, and a lot of times it's just easier for me to grab some of that wood and then use a little bit of this on the bottom. So this is more seasoned than the other stuff. So we'll throw this in first, and then we'll get the greener stuff and load it on top. So one of the main questions that I had before I purchased this wood boiler, and also before I purchased my wood stove at the farm, my indoor wood stove, was I don't want to deal with all this high efficiency crap. I want to be able to just throw wood in there. You know, I don't care what kind it is. I want to be able to just throw wood in there, whatever I have available. Sometimes I don't have a lot of time to prepare 2 or 3 years ahead. I'd love to get there someday, but I've never had a chance to do that. So sometimes I'm burning less than ideal wood, you know, green wood and things like that. And so I didn't want to deal with all this high efficiency crap. I don't want to have to deal with parts that I have to replace, and you know, you make things more complicated. You add a bunch of computer controls and a bunch of other junk, and you end up having to deal with this stuff, and I just didn't want to deal with it. So the wood stove I actually purchased at the farm, my indoor wood stove, it was a Bunbaker XL. It was a cast iron cooking wood stove, and because it was a cooking wood stove, it didn't have to have any of the high efficiency stuff on it. It was just a wood stove. It was simple. It had a damper, and you turned it on or off, and you could turn the air up or down. That was it. And I love that stove, but I will say it wasn't super efficient. And that was one of the downfalls of it, is that I did burn a lot more wood in that stove. I had an outdoor wood boiler at the farm as well, and it was a simple, it had a fan in it, it had a vent at the bottom, and it had an ashtray you pulled out. and that was it. You could throw whatever you wanted in that thing. You could cut a tree down that had leaves on it, you throw that thing in there and it would burn it, and you just didn't care. There was nothing to go wrong besides a fan and a water pump. That was it. So then I started looking at these stoves, and I wondered, is this going to be an issue for me? Am I going to regret having all this high efficiency stuff? Now, this is a 90% plus efficiency furnace, it's considered, and so it does qualify for a tax credit this year, and I think next year it's a little bit lower in 2023, but it is still a tax credit. And now, after running this here for a couple months, I can honestly say that it is way more efficient, and because of that, it's saving me a lot of time. I can still burn green or wood in here as long as I do it right. Again, I'm not going to just throw it in there on an empty stove, but if I just keep it loaded and I keep green wood loaded at the top, it'll dry out and it still runs at 100%. Now, the controller on this thing has been super helpful, so it allows you to monitor exactly how well the stove is running, and you can tell if it needs to be cleaned, you can tell if it's something's clogged up, you can tell if you know, how well the wood is burning that you put in there. It monitors, you know, how long the total burn time is between reloads and all that kind of stuff. And so it has a graph that I check throughout the day, and you know, it's just satisfying. You jump on there and you can see, okay, it's been, that little red line will get up to 100% every time it fires, every time it burns. And when it gets to 100%, that tells you it's burning clean. It's burning, it's getting up to the ideal temperature, and everything's running at maximum efficiency. And so you just keep an eye on that, and it's kind of fun. You know, I've been wanting this thing to run at 100%. So that's ideal for me, because I know I'm getting the most out of my wood, which is where all the labor comes in. Now, I'm still burning a lot of wood. How much am I going to burn throughout the season? I just have no idea yet. Now, I will say I am running, this is a 4,200 square foot house. It has 2 furnaces, it has 2 water heaters, and it has a lot of glass, which just means a lot of heat loss overnight. Yeah, I'm burning still a lot of wood, I think. So it does take 2 full wheelbarrow loads to fill the firebox from empty to full. And that's a lot of wood to put in there, but I'm only doing that 1.5 times a day. I probably could put 2 full loads in there in a 36-hour period when it's super cold. When it's in the 40s during the day, I'm loading it, you know, I'm probably putting 2 wheelbarrow loads in for a 24-hour period. So it seems like a lot of wood, but for what I'm heating and what I'm running through here, it has been extremely efficient. So if I have to come out here and clean this thing once every couple weeks, and it takes me a half an hour, how much wood am I saving? How much time am I saving just by having to deal with the high efficiency stuff on this thing? To me, it's been worth it so far. I would much rather spend less time collecting wood and have a more efficient use of the wood that I have than, you know, and have to come out here and clean this thing every once in a while. So it hasn't been an issue for me so far. I've actually enjoyed it. It's not been a problem to come out here and clean it. It hasn't been that much work. And I can tell when it needs to be cleaned, things, you know, you'll start to see it not running quite as efficient. I'll get out here, clean it up, it fires right back up and runs at 100% right where I want it. I will also say that I have, as soon as it got cold and the fire, it was burning a lot more. The furnace would kick on a lot more. It requires almost no cleaning. It's burning at 100% every couple hours, and it's keeping it clean. When I was running this thing in the warmer weather, you know, when it was like 60 during the day and maybe 35 at night, it barely ever ran. I barely put wood in this thing, and it actually got a lot dirtier. It was just a lot of more creosote in it, and it just ended up being a lot more dirty. Let me know what you guys think. What's your experience with wood boilers? What did you think of this? Are you considering buying one? What questions do you have that maybe I could answer? There's maybe some things I didn't cover. Don't forget to hit thumbs up on today's video. Of course, subscribe if this is your first time here. I'd love to have you tag along. Lots more wood burning and wood processing and homesteading type things coming up through the winter. Lots of DIY projects as well we're going to be doing in the house, so look forward to that good stuff. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.